Ukraine has struck yet another logistics hub belonging to the Russian retailer Wildberries in the city of Volgograd. Drones have hit more than a dozen sites in the past few weeks in a bid to disrupt the company's operations. Some call Wildberries the Russian Amazon. It is a linchpin of the country's consumer economy. Kyiv claims the Wildberries facilities are legitimate military targets because they supply Russia's frontline troops in Ukraine. Moscow, however, denies that. Ukrainian drones hit one facility south of Moscow on Wednesday, forcing staff evacuations and a halt in deliveries. The company says about 10% of its storage capacity has now been destroyed, with tens of thousands of dollars in losses. Joining me now, Alexey Kovalev, an investigative reporter and independent journalist. Good to see you, sir. Ukraine has now carried out repeated drone strikes against Wildberries warehouses across Russia. What's the thinking behind focusing on this one company so consistently?
Hi there, good morning. And yes, it's a very smartly chosen target because obviously Moscow will deny that it's legitimate as one. But if you take a very cursory look at the company's catalog, it's pretty obvious that it sells a lot of not just military coded, like coffee mugs with military themed and other merchandise, but actual combat tested armor plates. Drones, drone components, including those that don't have any plausible civilian use at all, like specialized drop rigs for drones for dropping specific kinds of Russian grenades. And it's pretty much out there in the open. So you can flip through thousands and thousands of items like that has been specifically promoted as supplies for our troops in the field. And you have, in the reviews, you can clearly see that the purpose people are buying all this merchandise for, like armor vests and helmets and goggles and FPV drone components, that people are buying it with one purpose in mind only. And they're quite explicit that this is the product that is sorely needed at the front line in what Russia calls its special military operation. So the purpose of thousands and maybe tens of thousands of these items sold on Wildberries is pretty clear. And it's not like one-off purchases. It's obvious that this has been going for a while, and there are specialized vendors selling only military equipment, despite the fact that all of this goes against the company's own terms of services. They adopted one about a couple of weeks before the first attacks, and they simultaneously prohibited the vendors on the platform from selling any merchandise of military purpose, and also prohibiting sales of that. So the company is still selling all of those items as we speak, despite the fact that they violate their own terms of services.
Yes. These strikes aren't just affecting the military, they are disrupting many people's lives and small businesses too, all across Russia. What sort of impact will that have internally within the country, do you think?
The biggest impact is, of course, in the consumer economy, because tens of millions of Russians depend on Wildberries. It's much more than Amazon, I think, in that it's replaced a big chunk of retail trade in Russia in general, and also it's just so pervasive. There is a pickup point in almost every residential building across the entire Russia, and that's 11 time zones. So it's indeed one of the most effective logistical companies in Russia, and it's selling millions of items every day and delivering it everywhere from the westernmost Russia all the way to the Pacific Ocean. And you have to be a very efficient logistics company in order to be able to do that. And there is also another aspect to this, is that Wildberries, in fact, has the Russian military has outsourced parts of its procurements onto private contractors such as Wildberries. Of course, it's not official, but it's an ad hoc decision by many Russian military units that are occupying Ukraine, who have been experiencing shortages in all kinds of equipments, from ammunition to even to body bags that they have to ask their civilian supporters to buy on Wildberries and deliver to these frontline units, because the Russian Defense Ministry itself kind of is chronically unable to plug all the gaps in logistics and and supplies. And that's where the kind of grassroots supporters of war, there are a lot of them in Russia, and they pool together their money, and they post out crowdfunding drives for specific units in the Russian military, listing specific items on Wildberries. There is a lot of genuinely dual-use stuff, like a lot of medical supplies, for example, but some are very explicitly crowdfunding for very obvious military equipment, like body armor and helmets and FPV drones that are quite clear that are going to be used in combat context, not for racing. Because you don't really need a spool. You don't really need a spool of optic fire cable 20 miles long to be engaged in hobby drone racing.
President Trump is having second thoughts about allowing Ukraine to produce a key air defense weapon. He told the Financial Times on Thursday he's not sure he'll give Kyiv a license to make Patriot missile interceptors. He promised he would do that at a NATO summit earlier this month. Ukraine is facing a shortage of Patriots, the only weapon that can stop Russia's most advanced ballistic missiles. Mr. Trump spoke hours after a massive attack on Ukraine, which killed at least 9 people and wounded more than 50 others. Poland says what appears to be a Russian missile crashed and exploded deep inside its territory during those strikes. Poland is a NATO member, but a military official told CNN there are no plans to discuss a joint response by the alliance. European